Let me share with you how building trusting relationships with a bit of vulnerability helped me to achieve strong results at the UN. It's 2021. I'm deployed as a military peacekeeper to the Middle East. Just finished a long day of patrolling the ceasefire line between Lebanon and Israel. Lebanon on the right of the barbed wire fence, Israel on the left. Looking forward to go for a run in the military camp. That's when my phone rings. It's one of my Swiss officers in Syria. He sounds in distress. Urs, we have a terrible situation. We've tried everything. We believe life's on the line, but nobody's listening. Can you help us in your role as Swiss Senior National Representative? He downloads some more details, and before we hang up, I tell him there'll be a leadership meeting the next day, and I bring up his concerns then. I hang up. I'm not happy. I'm not looking forward to this meeting. I now have to get the commanding officer, the CEO in Syria, into trouble by asking for a change in leadership. It doesn't help that I'm a low-ranking officer and a newly promoted senior, so I have to work double hard to be taken seriously. The meeting the next day. I lay out in no unclear terms the change that my officers need to see. I'm being very tough on results, very Swiss, very to the point. To my amazement, my voice is heard at the highest level. My low rank doesn't get me into trouble, and the concerns of my officers are immediately resolved. After the meeting, I was reflecting on this. What made it possible for me to be heard at the highest level, despite being a low-ranking officer? I believe the short answer is this. Up to this point, I worked incredibly hard on relationship building, on being tender on people. A few weeks earlier, when I was first promoted to senior, instead of boasting about my new title, which frankly I probably would have done earlier in my career, I knew to be effective, I needed to build strong collaborative relationships with key members in the mission. So I pulled out the org chart and identified about 30 people, strategically identified 30 people I knew I needed to build strong collaborative relationships with. And then I got to work. Over the next 10 days, I spent every hour I was not patrolling the ceasefire line on 30-minute relationship-building meetings. During these meetings, I inquired about the other person's personal background, their hopes, concerns for the mission, their expectation of me as a senior. No other business agenda up front. No business agenda up front. I learned that the Chief of Staff and I shared a passion for ultra-endurance racing. The head of mission loved spending time in my hometown of Zurich in Switzerland together with his daughters. We shared, with a bit of vulnerability, built a foundation for a trusting relationship. We moved from seniority to connection. There's no question, coming back to that meeting, in my mind, that the main reason why my voice was heard at the highest level is because I made the effort to build upfront relationships with key members in the mission, including everybody at the leadership table. Sharing with a bit of vulnerability, built a foundation for a trusting relationship, drove results for my officers in Syria. An important lesson from this story is this. Our feedback is much more likely to be heard and acted upon, both by our team members and, yes, our superiors, if we've made the effort to build meaningful and trusting relationships with them. Remember Carla Overbeck, soccer captain? Being tender on people gives me license to be tough on results. By now, it should be clear that we don't advocate for relationship building because we want to be nice or liked or kind. No. We build relationships because it drives engagement, it drives performance, it drives trust. Leaders sometimes challenge me on this, and you might be thinking this right now. This is all very nice and dandy, yours, but I don't really have time for this stuff. And I get it. Relationship building is never efficient in the short term because of the time and energy it requires. And by the way, the fact that you're all here today shows all of us that you're actually invested not only in content learning, but also relationship building. So you are already ahead of the curve. Relationship building is never efficient in the short term, but it always pays in the long run. You never know who you have to rely on when the famous stuff hits the fan, as it always does. Building bonds with others is a preemptive move.